most companies either have a social media strategy that doesn't write into business objectives or really don't have a strategic approach to social media. And when we talk about having a strategic approach, it's more than just marketing now. Social media really is starting to permeate throughout the entire organization, including HR, legal, IT, almost every department you can think of. So there's a need for everybody to come to the table. There's a need to have a strategy that makes sure that you're achieving your business objectives through social media. And there's a need for a process and a framework. And that's what I created. And when I talked to Wiley about, what book should I write, they really wanted me to share all that experience I have doing social media strategy consulting into a book so that you can all do it yourself. How do you teach social media? Do people need a social media MBA? They just do it, right? And yes, there is a tactical part of social media, functionality that different sites provide that's always changing. But there's concepts that don't change regardless of the social media sites. And what I try to provide is, it is true that social media is always changing because who is using social media, the functionality that these sites are providing, and how we use those sites and that functionality is always changing, right? Twitter did not used to be where the news breaks, right? Companies did not used to have brand pages on Facebook, creating ads and trying to micro-target consumers. In fact, if I had asked most professionals in a room when I speak, how many of you are on Facebook, a few years ago, including some that may be watching this video, may have laughed at me, right? But no one's laughing anymore. So it's always changing, and therefore, there needs to be an experimental part of what you do in social media. So I looked around the world for what would be a good framework for controlled experiments. And I actually found what I learned in Japan from Professor Edwards Deming. Professor Edwards Deming is known as the godfather of quality control. He created a very, very simple framework for experiments that I think is very, very relevant for social media, and that's the framework that I utilize in my book as well. So there's a need to always be doing things, testing things, looking at the metrics, understanding what's working and what's not working, and knowing what works today isn't necessarily going to work 3 months from now. So there's a need to always be testing, experimenting, and always measuring and always optimizing, and it's a never-ending circle. I think the big myth is there is no social media revolution. There may have been a revolution, but that social media revolution is over. Social media is a mainstream technology. If you have a website, you're only able to attract 75% of the online audience because 25% of the time we are active in social media. And social media wasn't made for businesses, it was made for people. And therefore businesses need to have a different thought process, different tactics, different strategies in order to engage with people on their own turf in social media. But this is a mainstream technology now. And as younger generations get older, and the younger generations obviously use social media from when they wake up in the morning until when they go to bed at night, this is something that every company can and should leverage.